Good evening. I'm Erin Burnett. And out front tonight, the breaking news. More than 170 people are still missing after the catastrophic floods. In Kirk County, Texas alone, 161 people are known to be missing. Governor Greg Abbott just announcing this stunning number at a press conference. And it is a dramatic change. Officials earlier today had said there were 18 people missing. So the governor came out and said, no, that number is more than 170. It is a stunning surge and is in addition to 111 who are known to have died in the state in the floods. That number already made this the deadliest floods in the United States in the past half century. Police say that they have not found a single survivor since Friday. And officials warn that the number of those unaccounted for could still go higher.
Know this, we will not stop until every missing person is accounted for. Know this also, there very likely could be more added to that list.
Even more added to that list, and after that stunning spike today. Shimon Prokupecz tonight reporting that officials have known for a couple of days, though, that the number of missing was much higher than that 18 that had been publicly disclosed. And according to one official, one of the things that authorities have struggled to understand is the number of RVs that were actually camping in the area since the RVs weren't registered. So that created a real question mark around the number of people unaccounted for. And as the Texas governor said, hundreds of volunteers are right now braving heat and humidity, clearing trees, removing debris, praying for a miracle of a life. Isabel Rosales is out front. She is live in Center Point, Texas. And Isabel, the number missing spiking tonight, just tragically. What more are you learning about this?
Right, what a stunning jump from 18 to over 170 missing in hard-hit Kerr County alone. It came, Aaron, as a shock to the volunteers who were working here. They found out from me because they've been putting in grueling hours attempting to find these missing people. And in fact, right behind me, you can see that they're still working under this blaring sun. They're attempting, there's a vehicle, they tell me, underneath of this lake that they're attempting to pump all the water out and make sure that there isn't a missing one right there where we're looking at. Meanwhile, questions are being raised if Kerr County officials gave residents enough warning. Earlier today, officials, they wouldn't comment on a timeline of when that they knew that these floods posed a deadly threat and avoided repeated questions of who knew what and when. Texas Governor Greg Abbott was also asked to who was to blame, and in his answer, he used a football metaphor as his response. Listen.
I'm going to use your words. Who's to blame? Know this, that's the word choice of losers. Every football team makes mistakes. The losing teams are the ones that try to point out who's to blame. The way winners talk is not to point fingers. They talk about solutions. What Texas is all about is solutions.
And CNN obtained new records and reports that shows that 2 days before the floods, there was actually a state inspector at Camp Mystic in Hunt that certified that there was an emergency plan in place for that campground, that the cabins and the other buildings, that they were safe, and that they had that state mandated plan that included what to do in case of flooding. We've reached out to the camp for more details. Aaron.
Yeah, waiting so many questions without answers still tonight. Isabel, thank you so much, reporting on the ground there tirelessly. Let's go now to Ryan Logue, Deputy Incident Commander with the United Cajun Navy. And I appreciate you're taking the time. I know you are working to try to rescue, to try to find survivors. And you hear tonight Governor Abbott saying there's 170 people missing, 161 in Kerr County alone, where you've been spending your time trying to find people. Look, obviously the number out there earlier today had been 18, and now that's a huge spike to more than 170. But you've been there. I mean, did you always expect that number to spike like this?
To be honest, personally, I think the number is closer to 500 to 600. That's my personal opinion. I'm not going to state that for anybody else, but just where we're at in Center Point, if you go up the river within about 2 miles, there were multiple RV parks, campgrounds, and all of those people are missing. I've talked to two of the the business owners, and they said they weren't sure exactly how many people were there, but there were up to 100 vehicles at some of these places, and that's not being reported. So that's where I believe there's a lot of miscommunication because of the children missing, because of the camps. The focus was there, and also due to how far spread this disaster is over just a river that's 60 miles long. No matter how many resources you have, just for the government, it's gonna be a difficult task, and this has never happened like this before. So them getting people all the way down here is very, very tough. So, our organization has taken up the task to, take this part of the river on and, begin doing the work that, the foot crews, the people who are volunteering, the wonderful people who are spent their time, going through the woods, going through the wreckage. But now the hard part is this kind of the special projects aspect of it. Right now, we're pumping out water out of areas that are 40 feet deep and probably an acre in size. I'm looking at it right now. And we've got 3 or 4 cars in there. We've pulled a trailer out, and we pulled out the axle of a trailer, and the water filled in, which means the trailer inside actually had air in it. So we've got multiple puddles like that where we are checking for all the unfortunate things. But we've had dogs hit areas. There is so much to do that, this is just the beginning. Really, now that the rains ended and that the waters are starting to calm some, we are just now being able to assess truly what we are up against, especially in this part of the river that we've, really been assisting with just outside of Center Point.
When you talk about those RV parks, what these numbers could be, the numbers you're sharing are obviously hard to hear and horrifying. Ryan, we spoke yesterday. You shared a powerful story about when you saw a child's Bible with the verses highlighted, favorite verses highlighted, and how that was a moment where you allowed yourself emotion and you allowed yourself to cry. As you look today, what have you seen? When I hear you talk about a trailer with air inside it, of course you think, perhaps there could be something somewhere where maybe somebody in that air pocket is alive, right? I know it may sound absurd at this point, but there's that hope against hope.
The hope against hope, I understand exactly what you're saying. And there was a point to where within this process, you don't allow yourself to.
And it sounds like we just lost the connection there with Ryan. Obviously, he told you where he was, looking out over the water in an area where they were trying to look for people, desperately hoping for survivors, as opposed to just finding perhaps more people who have lost their lives in these horrific floods. But, there are some in these RV parks who did manage to survive. Some stories of miraculous, frankly, no other way to describe it. And just a few moments ago, I spoke to one of those survivors, Julia Hatfield, and here's the story. Out front now, Julia Hatfield. She's a local musician who was staying in an RV park with her husband in Kerrville, right on the banks of the Guadalupe River, when the flood hit. Their RV, which we're going to show you here, submerged in minutes. They lost everything, but of course, escaped with the most important thing, their lives together, and are now trying to help their community recover from such loss and pain. And Julia, we are now learning, just before you and I are speaking here tonight, that 161 more people are still missing, right? We had not known that number. I think many had thought that this was a horrific tragedy, but that we knew the extent of it. 161 people that we were not aware of. It's staggering and heartbreaking. Were you surprised when you heard that the number of missing was so much higher than what officials have publicly said so far?
Honestly, I hadn't even heard that number yet today. We've been down working. We expected this, honestly. After seeing the devastation, my husband and I both looked at each other and said it's probably going to be well into the hundreds. So after seeing the aftermath, it felt pretty obvious this was going to end up happening.
And I know because you know the area, and also because of what happened to you, Julia, you see this in a way that few do. I mean, you were sleeping when the storm hit. Your husband wakes you up, I guess, around 4:35 a.m. And you shared a video of what happened then. So 10 minutes after you wake up, 10 minutes, your RV is totally submerged, right? So that 10 minutes where for you meant life, for others meant death. Can you tell me exactly what happened? I mean, this happened so fast for you.
It did. It happened very fast. My husband heard some screaming outside. We had gotten an alert. He had looked out and didn't see anything, but of course it was very dark. He heard screaming, looked out and saw that the RVs on the lower level were starting to be washed away. And that's when he woke me up. And about 10 minutes later, water was already up the side of the RV, but thankfully at that point we were out.
Yeah, thank God. And you talk about the screaming. I'm sure screams, you know, you'll have to hear forever. But you heard a child, a boy, screaming as he was swept downstream. What happened in that moment?
At that point, the rescuers were having to move their vehicles because the water was about to wash them all away. And I heard the scream, and it sounded like a child. And next thing I know, I see a little boy who was getting washed downstream. And there just wasn't much to be done at that point. My husband kept yelling, "Do not get in the water." It was taking RVs away. Trees were cracking. The power of that water was unreal. But thankfully, the next day, by some miracle, saw his face online and he ended up surviving. So I'm very, very thankful for that.
Oh my gosh, such a miracle. I have to admit, I didn't think you were going to say that, but you did see his face. So you know that child survived.
Yeah, I told my mom, I said, if that boy walked up to me, I would know exactly who he was. And when I saw his face, I knew.
Oh, what a miracle that is. You showed some of the debris. You talk about the power of the water, Julia. The debris the next morning, right? Just hours later when some of this had receded. And now you're involved in the recovery effort of just trying to dig through this and figure out what happened. I mean, what are you seeing now? And when you think about the power of the water you witnessed in that moment, what does seeing the debris now feel like?
I mean, it's walls of debris. They have been clearing things for days at this point. There've been so many dogs going through looking for people, but at this point, our focus is just trying to find those people. The piles, though, are unbelievable. Many of them are very hard to sort through because there's so many parts of metal RVs that have been bent in half. Just whole trees, things that they make 40-foot, 30-foot piles. It's been a lot to go through them, but they're still finding people probably every hour.
Well, Julia, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk to me, and thank you for sharing the story of that little boy. Just a little bright miracle, perhaps, for everyone to be able to appreciate. Thank you so much.